Are the Saudis souring on normalizing, making peace with the state of Israel? Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg with a YouTube exclusive for the Rosenberg Report. Greetings from Jerusalem. Look, huge and dramatic and very, very important meetings on Tuesday between President Donald J. Trump and Saudi Crown Prince and de facto leader of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Very, very important. We're going to go into the details in a few minutes of what actually did come out of that. But what did not come out of those meetings is some big announcement that the Saudis have joined or are about to join the Abraham Accords, okay? And so this is raising the question, for everything else that was positive and got done between the U.S. and the Saudis and strengthening that alliance, which I think is an important alliance. I support those meetings. I support this alliance growing and maturing and deepening. Because that, in part because the U.S.-Saudi alliance was unraveling during the Biden administration. It was really, really bad. It was very strong during Trump's first term, started to unravel seriously during the Biden years, and then now is re-strengthening over the last, 10, 11 months or so, with President Trump going, right? His first foreign trip was to where? Saudi Arabia. And he also went, of course, to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Good, all very important. But his first trip, his first visit in the first term was to Saudi Arabia. Trump's first visit, his first foreign visit, was to Saudi Arabia in the second term. And so what you're watching is Trump rebuilding, strengthening the U.S.-Saudi alliance. Very, very important. But the question is, are the Saudis souring on moving away from normalizing relations with Israel? Because at the end of the Trump first term, what was happening? Well, Trump was making 4 Arab-Israeli peace and normalization deals, what became known as the Abraham Accords. First with the United Arab Emirates, then Bahrain, then Morocco, and of course Sudan. Super important. And then how many peace and normalization agreements did the Biden administration make? How many countries joined the Abraham Accords during the Biden years? 0. Nada. Bupkis. Nothing. And now Trump has gotten a big win, right? He just got Kazakhstan to join the Abraham Accords just a few weeks ago. Very encouraging. But the question is, why didn't the Saudis make a big announcement? Right? We believe that the Saudis were very close to normalizing at the end of the Trump years, and if he'd gotten a second term, I think it would have certainly happened. And then there was even talk for a while at the end of 2023, maybe summer of 2023, even the Crown Prince himself went on Fox News, right, with Bret Baier and said, we're getting very close. I think we're moving in the right direction in terms of normalizing relations with Israel, but we're not there yet. But that was very positive. It looked like progress. It looked like the Biden administration might be able to make something happen. And then what happened? October 7th. The Iranian-led, initiated attack from 7 different directions on Israel blew up, literally and figuratively, any hope of normalization between Israel and the Saudis or any other Arab or Muslim majority country after October 7th. Prophecy is unfolding right before our eyes. Israel's been prophetically reborn, Jews are returning to Israel, but Israel has also been attacked from all sides. Now we pray that calm and quiet will continue and expand in the weeks and months ahead, but we can all see the birth pangs that Jesus described shaking Israel and her neighbors like never before. And that's exactly why the Joshua Fund works so hard in the heart of the epicenter to invest in and strengthen the local church, to help our Jewish and Arab brothers and sisters in Christ, in the Messiah, to preach the word, make disciples, care for widows and orphans, and show people the love and hope and healing that we only have in Jesus. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. Now is the time to stand up, pray ceaselessly for the peace of Jerusalem, and give generously to advance the kingdom of Christ in the very land where he was born, died, and where he was raised again, and where he's coming again, I hope soon. Your monthly support makes it possible for the Joshua Fund to be the hands and feet of Jesus to families who are suffering and to respond quickly when a new crisis hits. Will you join us? Now is the time that we need you most. Go to joshuafund.com/TBN today and become a monthly partner in this prophetic mission. Together, let's make an eternal impact by blessing Israel and her neighbors in the name of Jesus. Now the question is the idea of peace and normalization between Israel and the Saudis off the table? I don't think so, but there's no question that the Saudis were souring on normalizing with Israel over the last 2 years. They, politically speaking, in terms of their own domestic politics and their own regional politics of the Arab and Muslim street, who were turning very, very hostile to Israel because of what they saw happening in Gaza, set aside whether the Arab street, the Arab masses were seeing it correctly, whether Al Jazeera was telling them exactly what was really happening. Of course they weren't, but the point is that Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince and de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, had no political margin to make peace and normalize with Israel. I believe he wants to. Having met with him several times, watching the tea leaves, watching what the Saudis have done over the last 5 or 6 years, I think the Saudis want to make peace, at least at the highest levels. But are they souring? Have they been souring over the last couple of years? Yes. There's no question that the Saudis have backed away from a peace normalization agreement with Israel. Who did they normalize with? With Iran. Yeah, a Chinese brokered relationship strengthener between Riyadh and Tehran. And you're like, well, why is Iran? Why are the Saudis moving towards Iran? Didn't the Crown Prince tell you on the record in one of your meetings that the Saudi Crown Prince considered the supreme leader of Iran the new Hitler? Yes, he did. So why have the Saudis and the Iranians normalized and not the Saudis and the Israelis? And I'll tell you, you can summarize it in one word: Biden. As Biden pushed the Saudis away and the relationship between the U.S. and the Saudis started to unravel as Biden stopped selling arms to the Saudis, pulled back missile defenses, U.S. missile defense batteries out of Saudi Arabia, called the Crown Prince a pariah, called the Saudi kingdom a pariah state, and just heaped all kinds of attack and criticism and berating of the Saudis during the years which were very complicated because of the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi dissident. The Biden administration made things so bad between the Saudis and the U.S. that the Saudis began to diversify their alliances. They tried to strengthen their relationship with the Russians and with the Chinese and even with Iran. Now you have to understand, what do the Saudis want most? They want this defense pact, right? Why? Because the Saudis are fearful of the Iran threat, not just to Israel, not just from the Houthis, not just Iran's attack against Israel and from all different directions. The Saudis are afraid of getting that type of treatment from Iran. And so without the Biden administration making anything better or pulling the Saudis closer and strengthening the relationship between the Saudis and the United States, the Saudis felt very much adrift, very much alone, very much vulnerable to Iranian attack. And the Saudis don't have the type of military capacity that Israel does to fight a 7-front war. So what's the key line, right? The takeaway line from the Godfather movie series? You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's what the Saudis did by normalizing, creating this relationship that to a non-belligerence, and we won't attack each other. This relationship between the Saudis and the Iranians, the Saudis were trying to dial down the threat level from Tehran by keeping their enemies close. Okay, now that President Trump is back in power and is rebuilding and re-strengthening the U.S.-Saudi relationship, the Saudis are feeling a little bit more comfortable and thinking maybe if we get our relationship with the United States right, and that's what this big visit was all about, and I think went very well. But the point is, if the relationship between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is strong, and the Saudis feel like they've got a good defense relationship with the United States, then they don't have to play footsie with Iran. They don't have to poke Iran in the eye, but they feel like they could move maybe towards a full-on peace normalization agreement with Israel. And that's what President Trump wants, a strong relationship with the Saudis, but he also wants the Saudis to normalize relations with Israel and to join the Abraham Accords. Now, there's another element that's important here, and we'll just take a few moments and deal with it. Why do the Saudis want a relationship with Israel? So my point is that, yes, over the last 2 years during the war, the Saudis were souring on a peace treaty with Israel, but now they're warming up again. Trump wants it. The Saudis are considering it. And I feel cautiously optimistic. I think that we're heading in the right direction. But there's repair work that has to be done. But why would the Saudis want an actual treaty relationship with Israel? And I think the answer is the Saudis want to be a strong, modern country that's an ally of the United States and an ally of the Western Alliance. Okay? The Saudis do not see themselves. Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, does not see himself as a true ally of the communist Chinese. He doesn't see himself and his country as real allies of Vladimir Putin and Russia, and MBS certainly doesn't see himself as an ally of the Iranian terror regime. Right? So he doesn't really want to be part of that world. He wants to be close to the United States. He wants to be close to NATO. He wants to be close to Europe, and he wants to be close to Israel because Israel is a fighter. Israel is a high-tech society. Israel is the future. And the Saudis see themselves, MBS sees himself as part of the future. And he wants a robust economy, a high-tech economy, a tourism economy, a trade-intensive economy, and he wants to be close to the number one most powerful country in the Middle East, and that is Israel. Yeah, are the Saudi people angry at Israel because of the damage that's been done in Gaza and the war that's been going on and the number of people that have been killed and the houses destroyed? Yeah, that's true. But longer term, MBS sees the strategic opportunity of building an alliance, mostly with the United States, but in proximity and in synergy with Israel. That's what I'm watching for. That's what I believe is where we're heading. It didn't happen this week, but I think a lot of progress was made because of President Trump's decision to go to Saudi Arabia in the spring and then invite Mohammed bin Salman to Washington, to the White House for his first time in 7 years, right? MBS was considered persona non grata by the Biden administration. Trump is taking a very different approach, and I think he's right to do it. And I think, when it comes to the F-35s, look, it's a challenge for Israel, but Israel's not 100% opposed to the Saudis having F-35s. They are opposed. Israel is opposed, and rightly so, that the Turks, that Turkish President Erdogan have F-35s because the Turks are a threat to Israel. Erdogan hates Israel with a vengeance, and Israel is opposed to Qatar having F-35s because Israel has an agreement, a written agreement with the United States that Israel will always have a qualitative military edge. They're not going to have more weapons than every other country in the region, but they're going to have a qualitative edge. And the F-35 is the greatest, most advanced fighter jet in human history. Israel has them. Israel's not opposed to the Saudis having them, but what Israel wants most of all is a peace treaty with Israel, so there's no real concern about those F-35s being used against Israel. They want a good, strong security, economic, technology, and trade relationship with the Saudis. That's what we want here. And I think it's coming. I would encourage you to be praying. I don't think it's going to happen unless millions and millions of Christians are praying for the peace of Jerusalem. And I think the peace of Jerusalem runs through Riyadh. But first, the U.S.-Saudi relationship had to get better, and it was dramatically advanced this week. From Jerusalem, this is Joel Rosenberg with a YouTube exclusive for the Rosenberg Report.